Hey everyone, welcome to another Pokémon Movie Club. I am Marty and I am joined by Cerebi Joe and Birdkeeper Toby.
Hello!
And today we are going to be talking about Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, which is the remake of Mewtwo Strikes Back, but it's not anime, it's CGI animation. It's all 3D and stuff, which is the first time we've ever had a Pokemon thing like this. It was...
Fun fact, in 2019 there was no animated Pokemon movie. You had a live action, which had a lot of CGI, and you had this, which is completely CGI, but based on the anime.
So a year off from the traditional anime type film that we get. But, you know, because it didn't... That's why we saw The Power of Us and I Choose You, because movie didn't really work with the sun and moon.
They've been changing things up.
They've been changing things up.
And I think they're keeping that now, as we've seen with Coco.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, this was completely unexpected. Joe, you might say, like, when was this announced and how was this revealed and stuff?
Well, it was revealed at the end of the... movie before this, which was The Power of Us, in a small 3D CG trailer, which was just Mewtwo in the tube and then its eye opening. And then a few months later, on New Year's Eve, well, New Year's Day in Japan, literally, what was it? It was 10 past midnight that it dropped.
I can't remember.
And they revealed the first proper footage from it. And then it eventually released on July 12th, 2019.
Pokemon film in July?
Who
no
knew?
way. And we were waiting for this film.
We have been waiting for this film.
And we were waiting for this film because, generally speaking, if a Pokemon film comes out in July, we get it October, November time. And we got a Pokemon card product for this film, like the treasure chest tin, which I've got above my desk, actually. And we're like, where is it? Where is it? Now, obviously, 3D animation, we thought, do they have to reanimate some of it because of the lip flaps to make sure that the audio syncs okay? Because in anime, you can kind of cheese it a little bit with dubs, but it would be really apparent and you can't cheat as much with 3D animation. And we waited. And in January, it was announced that in February, on Pokemon Day, Netflix will have Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution.
So you can watch this on Netflix if you haven't already.
In, I guess, I don't know how many languages, but...
you can even watch it in Japanese with English subs.
Can you?
You can.
I didn't even know that. But yeah, it was... will we get it when we get it? And we did. And wow, I am so happy. So, Toby, your first impressions when we first saw the Japanese trailer, you weren't a fan.
No.
Just when your first impressions.
My initial impressions from that first trailer were that I wanted to run and hide, because while the Pokemon generally look quite good, the humans look kind of terrifying. And I realized that this is a thing that a lot of this is kind of like the blue and white dress versus it being a yellow and white dress, where some people just really got that and some people just didn't. And I was in this camp of, this thing looks terrifying, why does no one else see this? And then there were other people on the other side of it saying, what are you talking about? It's just cute, it's just animation. Why what do you mean? Why are you acting so viscerally creeped out by it? And that's how I feel about that animation. And that's how I felt, certainly, the first trailer. What did you think of the first trailer?
And Joe, what did you think?
I thought it was beautiful. I mean, the human characters, yeah, they're a bit... they were a shock at first, but really...
I think it's just because you're not used to it. And
when you think about it, they're going to try and keep the anime style in 3D, and that's going to look weird no matter what.
Yeah, I was pretty much going to say what Joe said. You take these much-loved 2D anime characters, and you got to make them CGI. If they looked not anime anymore, I think there'd be more complaints and people like, oh, but they don't look like themselves anymore. Like, it's not too Western CGI. Like, I don't know much about. I'm not a big anime fan. I don't know how many anime films have been made 3D.
There was a Dragon Quest one which released in May last year in Japan, and there was one, I think it's Lupin. Is that an anime?
No.
But it's like a detective kind of like Looker, but more comical. That was 3D anime.
But in terms of keeping true to them being anime, I think they got the balance okay. It's just we're not used to it, I feel. And
we've got a point of comparison against it.
Yeah. And I think if they looked to, like, say, Disney animation, Frozen, like, rounded faces and everything, I think that would be even worse. That would be bad. Whereas they look like 3D Misty Action Rock. And I wasn't mad at it. And, wow, the animation. Right, so the film came out on Pokemon Day in the UK and most other countries. So we watched it when it came out, and we watched it again today just to refresh our memory on a 20-year-old film.
Do I not do a dramatic reading?
Would you like to read the blurb?
Yes,
there is a Netflix.
Oh, the Netflix one is half a sentence. This is the official synopsis, which will be on the back of any Blu-rays which come out.
Okay, so Joe's going to read from Pokemon's press release of this film then.
When researchers discover and exploit a fossil of the mythical Pokemon Mew, they unleash a creation that goes against the very laws of nature. Mewtwo, a legendary Pokemon intended for use as a tool of destruction. Oh, they start a sentence with the word but. You shouldn't do that. But as Mewtwo becomes aware of its own dubious origin, it begins to resent its human creators and seeks revenge. And Ash, Pikachu and their friends find themselves at the centre of its rampage. With the future of the Pokemon world at stake, will our heroes be able to overcome Mewtwo's challenge? And will Mewtwo be able to find a new meaning for its life?
Dun, dun.
Now in 3D.
This sounds familiar. I've heard this before.
Yeah.
This is a movie already.
It's like a 23-year-old film.
This one already.
Yes.
22.
22-year-old film. So yes, it's the same as the other Mewtwo. It's Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution. It's the same story as the first one. You have scientists creating Mewtwo. Giovanni comes in like, Mewtwo, we can work together here. And that didn't go so well. Mewtwo's like, nah, I can do it without you. Blows up everything. Makes this whole arena. Invites lots of trainers to an island. Clones Pokemon that are meant to be stronger. I don't know. And Mewtwo ends up with a change of heart. You know the story. It's been 20 years. You know it's exactly the same. Doesn't matter. It's an old film. We know this film by now, but it's a little different in some ways. There are some there's some little differences. So
little differences. Luckily, I have a list.
Joe has a list,
which is in Japanese.
Okay, but first we're gonna talk that it's visually amazing.
Yeah, Toby.
Right, you've got Mewtwo breaking out of the glass. I always talk about 3D animation with the Pokemon films.
I found the film to be very hit and miss. There were moments that looked stunning, absolutely gorgeous.
Like at the end when they just exit the harbour and it's the rain's just clearing up. You've got the reflections.
The way that they animated and handled water in particular was really, really effective.
I thought it was amazing, the splashing waves, and I have never seen... I can't remember the last time I saw water, because water's not the easiest thing to animate.
No, I'm not going to be a complete buzzkill about this. There were actually bits of it that I found myself sitting down and surprised, like, oh, that's really good. Oh, I even prefer that. But for me, it was very hit and miss. It was like, oh, that's really great. Oh, I don't know about that. So yeah, I'll agree with you. Some of the animation was stunning. Some of the textures of some of the Pokemon. We've got a screenshot that's rotating around of a herd of Tauros.
Yes.
I remember looking
they're so fluffy. They're so fluffy.
In the way that it was animated. And a lot of that is very subjective, right? That's going to come down to personal taste and personal preferences. where, like, I remember when Detective Pikachu came out, people feeling, oh, that Pokemon shouldn't look like that, or that Pokemon shouldn't look like that. So, you know, but I really think there was some Pokemon that they were, in some effects that they got perfect. Absolutely.
So, what Pokemon, can you think of any Pokemon that you weren't a fan of? Like, we see the fluffy Tauros there, like, so many times throughout the film, I'm looking at Pokemon's texture, I'm like, the texture on Squirtle's shell, the texture of Arcanine being so fluffy. And several times throughout both of our watch-throughs of the film, we were like, the textures are amazing. There was not once I thought, that doesn't seem right.
I actually felt Pikachu was possibly the worst out of all of the Pokemon. I thought. Do
you feel like that's because you saw Detective Pikachu first and it's fluffier?
No, I don't think so. It just something about Pikachu. It wasn't really to do with the fluff. Something about it looked very, very wrong to me. And that might have been an effort to make Pikachu more of a character. Like it's more to do with the mouth and expressions, I think. No, I mean, I'm like skimming through other images. I can't remember what I thought about Gyarados, just that I thought something about it. I think maybe I thought it looked a little bit too plasticky as opposed to scaly, but other than that, like, I really do.
I was impressed with Staryu.
For the most of them look really good. Staryu.
Oh, yeah, cool. When Staryu, when they arrive and they just got shipwrecked.
Yeah, Staryu was one of those reflection. I distinctly remember being cool. So, no, for the most part, the Pokemon were pretty spot on. It's a shame that I felt that Pikachu was a bad one, given that Pikachu is obviously such a big part of the film. I remember thinking Bulbasaur was really good, so that was great. Yeah, no, generally they were pretty good. They were, in my opinion, and that's just my opinion, you know.
What did you think of the textures and things?
Very impressive.
Cool, thanks. I think
Pidgeot was a bit fat.
Podgy Pidgey we were calling it, Toby.
Oh, no, yeah, no, Pidgeot didn't look good. I didn't like Pidgeot. I thought that was, there you go, that's what I remember thinking. Now you've said it.
Podgy Pidgey. How the Pokemon look in this film was how I was thinking they would look in Detective Pikachu. And I am so glad that Detective Pikachu had a realistic looking Pokemon approach.
So it wouldn't contrast.
And because when I thought, oh, live action Pokemon, this was the kind of 3D Pokemon that I thought they would be doing. I'm so glad it was what ended up being a more realistic looking Pokemon. And while some may work better than others, I'm so glad that was the route they went down and not just CGI like Pikachu there. Like the fluff on Detective Pikachu, all that. I think they definitely got that spot on.
Honestly, the Pokemon were, in my opinion, the better part of the film. It was the people that I really struggled with, and I still have that same visceral feeling about that I had when I watched the trailers, where even now I can sit and look at a picture of the Ash from the film, and I'm just like, oh, it just doesn't sit right.
Would you rather it look like that, though, or more like Western 3D CGI?
I don't know what...
I'd rather it just not exist at all, says Toby.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, that's where I got... I don't know, the proportions didn't fit right for me. I mean, and maybe it is, maybe it's like, oh, maybe I subconsciously, my brain is wanting something more Pixar or more Disney or whatever. Like, I don't think it's that, but maybe it is. But for me, like, Ash multiple times looked just horrifying. The expressions looked long. I thought he wanted to eat Pikachu. His teeth were so pronounced in certain
you've mentioned teeth a lot when we've spoken about this. You don't like the whole teeth.
I thought Misty was similar. Brock, I think in particular Misty, Brock, and Ash, again, them being the main characters, it really sucks. But those are the ones that I thought were the worst offenders. I thought it was interesting that I thought Jesse and James got away with it. Now, they have very different body proportions.
Very big eyes.
It's not just Jesse and James. I mean, Dr. Fuji, he looked alright.
Yeah.
The other trainers at New Island, they looked fine, in my view.
I thought Jesse and James in particular, I thought were like the best looking humans in the film, and I thought Ash and the gang were the worst. And I don't know what that was. I couldn't place it. Maybe it's a conscious thing. Maybe it's what I'm used to seeing or not used to seeing. But I've spent months now looking at screenshots, trailers, and watching the actual film, and I don't feel any different now than I did then.
Fair enough.
Still equally like about some of it.
Fair enough. So, moving on to the script. The film does have some script differences, some good, some disappointing, because it stays true, I believe, to the Japanese script. So there's better...
One horrendous change. We'll get to that.
No, you're going to say the Meowth stuff, aren't you? No.
No?
Are you going to say the Team Rocket making errors?
No. Although, that was missed.
So, obviously, the original had a lot of errors, which they kind of tried to brush over to say, no, Team Rocket are just, silly and they don't know what Pokemon are which. And,
no, it's just 4 kids messed
and
up.
It was just some translation and bad dubbing. But it does stay more true to the Japanese script. And so, as we previously said, we were worried about the delay due to maybe it was harder to lip sync I think they call it flaps. You see the Vanity Fair with Sarah, the voice of Ash. They called it. Did they call it the flap? I can't remember. But fitting the voice in time with the lip movements is a very big thing. You can cheese it a bit in 2D, but it'd be a lot more noticeable if you got that wrong in CGI. Yeah. So we don't think they reanimated any of it. They fit the voice to what was already there. As expected, really.
Which does make some really weird sentence structures.
It does make for some really weird sentence structures at time. Not super bad, but I feel like because we're old and we know the original movie quite well, but kids probably wouldn't think twice. But there was some interesting sentence structures which were like, that's a bit of a weird thing to say. But overall, I think everything synced quite nicely. There wasn't anything I thought was super bad. But because of the script being changed, some lines are gone. Like, there's a very famous, well-known bit at the end of the film where Meowth is talking to his clone. Is like, oh, we do have the same...
Yeah.
What is it Meowth says again? I should know this.
Earth, the same
Earth, the same air, like all that. But in this film, they talk about the same moon. So, like, looking up, isn't the moon night today? Which you say is apparently
a common thing.
A common Japanese... I don't know what it is. But Joe was telling me that it's a very...
And it's a common thing with Meowth because in the original Japanese anime there's a whole ending theme which is just Meowth just sitting by a tree just looking at the moon and singing. And so it has been an established thing with Meowth, and this was shortly after that ending theme, if memory serves. So it fit.
So that makes more sense from the Japanese script point of view. So that bit of the film is now more true to the source material, and obviously people are a little bit upset with that because that's a really nice speech that Meowth gave at that point. Yeah. However, we did get the same other bit about the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It's what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are. That bit's still the same, thankfully, because that's a key bit of that film. Like, I'd be very upset if they'd got rid of that. But they can do what they want with Mewtwo because there's no lip movement. Because Toby, it's...
What?
Oh dear.
Telepathy.
Which they said twice.
They said twice in the film. Yeah. And obviously there's no music that we know from the first film as well because licensing, and I think that was just a dub thing really anyway. Sure. So telepathy, music.
Do you have this list of changes?
I do have a list
Joe
of
has
changes.
a list of changes.
Because I've got one dialogue change I want to talk about, but I want to hear your list of changes.
Okay, well, it doesn't really deal with dialogue.
Alright, well, you talking about your dialogue one first then, Toby.
Well, for me, the thing that didn't make the in a more objective way, in my opinion, I guess, makes it a worse film, is at the end, of course, you have the scene where Ash sacrifices himself and petrifies into stone like he's one of the Smash trophies from Brawl. It was great. And all the Pokemon cry, and you know that happened in the original. Thing is, they never have at the docks. The lady never talks about how in the ancient days there was the winds of water, and it's like it's all a big setup towards the tears of life.
Yeah.
Without that, there's no foreshadowing in it. So, if you were just watching this film and you've never heard about the tears of life or what that's about, if you're just watching this version of the film, you're just like, wait, so Pokemon's tears can bring people back to life? What?
It's weird.
There's nothing establishing it. And to me, that kind of makes it a worse film from a more kind of like, I guess from a script writing point of view, because it's like, and you're missing out on that foreshadowing. Now, that might be that the Japanese never had it in. That might be that it was just impossible to sync it up right, and they just couldn't find a way to vocalize that stuff. But without that dialogue, without that important foreshadowing, it just makes it so that at the end, when you're watching that scene, you're like, wait, is that a power Pokemon have? What? So that was kind of my big offender and big change that was, I think, an issue. But yeah.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
That does suck.
Yeah,
right, so what are all the changes in this film then, Joseph?
Right, okay, first, I mean, it wasn't really in the original movie, but the stuff about Dr. Fuji's daughter...
I think it's so important. I think it sets
that
up
was
this
not
film.
in the original movie, but it was, like, added in to
It's been dubbed.
But it's not in it. But this movie is about 25 minutes longer than the original. Because there is more stuff in the intro with Dr. Fuji and his team finding making Mewtwo. Whereas in the original, without the, Amber 2 stuff, it was like 5 minutes, if that. Whereas here it was at least 10. And
they changed the script at the start when Mewtwo's like, they're outside where I should be. Doesn't happen in this one.
Okay.
So.
Let me finish. And in the extra time, there's also a lot of establishing shots of various Pokemon, which is like, look at how beautiful this is. It's like, yeah. But it's like when Pokemon are getting captured, typically in the original, I think you didn't see every Pokemon getting captured individually. It was like a group, and like catch. Whereas here, it was catch. They're fighting, catch. They're fighting it off, catch, and so forth. They felt like they were filling time, perhaps because they had the extra length, because they didn't do Pikachu Summer Vacation, which they should have done. That would have been nice in 3D.
If they had 3D... To see my Marill and Snubble in 3D? Why put that thought in my head of something that's probably never going to be?
Might be. Okay, so there are moves which were used, which did not exist in Gen 1.
You didn't like this.
There was Energy Ball, used by Venusaur, and Leaf Storm, used by the copy Venusaur. And both of which were used, and...
Well, there's technically also Shadow Ball, but that was in the original.
That was in the original, so that doesn't count.
Doesn't count, yeah.
The Mewtwo's armour, obviously, is different, because it actually restricts Mewtwo. Whereas previously it was just like, yes, this restricts your power. It's like, how?
But yeah, there wasn't much armour there too.
But here, you see them clamping it in. The Pirate Trainer had a different look. He looks more like...
I'm so upset about.
He looks more like Captain Jack Sparrow now.
I don't understand why they changed his look, to be honest.
The Pirate Trainer looks so good in the original one.
And he has a different Pokemon.
Stop slapping the desk. It's going to pick up on the mic.
They get rid of his Golem and replace it with a Drowsy, because in the original, Pikachu uses Thunderbolt and... Well, actually, it's Thunder. And gets rid of the Golem, Venomoth, and the other one. I am at a loss at what the other one was.
Either way, they've changed it.
Pinsir, but they changed it, and they also changed the battle with Bulbasaur versus Donphan, because Donphan used Hyper Beam and various other things like that.
At least you didn't see Squirtle being sent out twice.
Yes, that
yes,
is
which is my favourite thing. The clip of Machamp going...
Toby knows.
And around that bit, there's also, you see more of Mewtwo in the castle, learning of Ash and telling that Misty is the Cerulean City gym leader, which he was not at that point.
Misty wasn't a gym leader at that point. And also, which is probably your next point, they invited all three, but
they did invite all three.
It was just they
Ash.
really wanted Ash, but Misty and Brock just happened to, tag along.
Next, there was the scene where Brock hits on what's her name?
Oh,
Nissa,
the girl with the Blastoise
Yeah.
in the Who Gets Picked. Doesn't really matter that much, but yeah,
It
Brock
does matter.
Brock hits
I need to get the
on
name
the
right.
girl that has shell
Nisha.
shocker.
That's it. There's a scene where Misty gets scared by the Gyarados, which fits because Misty was scared of a Gyarados at that point until she caught one.
That is nice.
The reason why Joy disappeared was visible. A lot of Mewtwo's battle scenes were actually cut. There were more trainers going across the sea. When
Didn't make it.
Who didn't make it in the original? You just had the guy with the Fearow, and what happened to them? But now you've got a Fearow.
Oh, can I
got
just
a
talk about
Cypher.
the texture on the Fearow, and the Fearow's got the camera around its neck? How Fearow just looks amazing.
Personal McKingler as well.
Oh, just
There's a non-Kanto Pokemon in there, right?
There's one non-Kanto Pokemon in this movie. It is Wingull, and it is right at the end.
but we'll get on
But
to that.
we will get to that. The Vikings were gone.
No more Vikings because
Instead, we have the Disney Channel version of Team Rocket.
Right, and they're
Why
going
were
to come
they
up.
singing?
I don't understand what
But it
the
was
whole
so
singing
funny.
was, and then James started talking in a pirate accent, but that's the only time he does it. Is the first bit he does is he speaks like a.
It did crack me up how when they're going over all the waves, Jessie and James are just laughing maniacally.
Like, there you go, you see them there, and it's like I don't understand. That bit I think was animated really well though, like when the
thought it
bumps
was
and
really
like
good.
they actually went up in the air, so like out of their seats, like physics. They actually done that.
But
all right.
fun fact, the Lapras boat is actually a real boat, which
The Lapras boat
in,
is a real boat.
I can't remember which province.
It was for an
prefecture.
event and stuff. It doesn't matter that much, but it's a real boat. But the whole singing thing, I don't know. But yeah, they couldn't because Vikings and Minnesota doesn't.
We also saw
exist
more
in-
of Seadra battling because you didn't really see Seadra battle in the original, but now you see it and you're like, yeah, this is why we didn't see it in the original. Because it was just bouncing and headbutting. It's like, no. Brock knew Mew, which he didn't in the original. And there was the whole point, them saying he's the mythical Pokemon, which they didn't do in the original.
Oh, that's just reminded me about what Ash says at the end, which annoyed me.
There's
sure
a
you
scene where the clone Pikachu is crying. Mother and daughter, they are in the end credits.
Mother and
because
daughter are in the film.
they
In the
have
end,
been in-
we had to point that out to Toby.
They have been in the movies since, what was it, the Latios and Latias movies. when first appeared.
They made an appearance. We did joke about it, didn't we? Like, I wonder if the mother and child appear. But we always watch the credits.
sure if they
And
do.
if we've not taught you anything with these movie clubs, is you got to watch the
Gotta watch the
credits
credits.
because the story
And
usually continues and wraps a few things
There
up.
is a post-credit scene where you see Mewtwo and his copies flying to the area where they are in Mewtwo Returns.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same
Actually-
area. It looks exactly the same, but it's in 3D.
And Ash annoys me at the end when he looks up and sees Mew in the clouds. He's like, "Oh, what's that?" And they're like, "What's what?" When I set off on my journey, I saw a really rare Pokemon, and I think of just I just
that was
saw
in the
another.
original as well.
But Ash didn't
And-
know what he saw. He didn't know that
that
he
was
saw
in
a
the
rare
original.
That's
Pokemon.
in the original.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the way he worded it,
It wasn't that much different. But what
it was
what
like
bugged me was how Misty was in the original. It's like, well, maybe you imagined it because, it's Misty and
Yeah.
she's not very nice. But they didn't do that in this
I'm
one.
glad you toned down on that. I was getting worried about where you were going with that. Also, the evolution on the Japanese movie poster, the font looks awful. It looks like...
Let that go.
I can't. When Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution,
So-
that poster first came out and you saw that evolution of font, I can't remember the name of that font, but it's one of those clip art, bog standard Microsoft Word fonts. I don't know what it's called, but it's an awful
this up.
font. You know the one I mean? You know the Japanese poster Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution. Evolution is written in the most awful font that I don't think I've used since I was like 10 years old.
Exactly what you're on about. I don't think it's not.
It's awful. It's awful. And the Western logo and everything is much, much better. Yeah, don't like that logo at all. Which is weird because usually the Japanese logos are better than what we get. Right, so you did all the differences. Now all three have invited. Miranda has a name. The harbour
person with the terrible accent.
Person with the weird accent. She introduces herself. We now know she's called Miranda.
Well, we knew that before.
Well, yeah, but she never said in the film before.
No.
So, Lapras and Song, Brock hits on the girl. Incorrect names fixed. Mother and child. Yeah, that's all my notes.
There goes Alakazam.
It's Alakazam.
Oh.
So what did you, I mean, how did you feel about this film? And when you think like, okay, I'm going to next want to watch Mewtwo Strikes Back, what's your feeling about why you might pick one over the other, or what circumstances you...
This is more aesthetically pleasing in my view.
It's interesting, okay.
Yeah, it's definitely...
It's a looker.
Really nice to look at.
When you don't look at Ash.
Yeah.
No, see, I'm not even mad at how the humans look. Like that Mew and Meow scene right there. I love that scene.
With Ash,
I love that
in this movie, it was the first time I was watching Ash and I was thinking, yeah, that's a 10-year-old child.
Yeah.
Because he has a lot of the same mannerisms my nephew has, I've been noticing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or your nephew's been watching a lot of Pokemon.
Or that. But it's not like that in the anime.
You can do a lot more with CGI.
You can.
It's impossible, saying for the sake of review, it is impossible for me to go into this and be completely objective. I am so nostalgically attached to the first movie and that generation, that period of time. That is my childhood. It is impossible for me to come in and say completely objectively that no, the original is better animation. The first movie on Blu-ray, I think looks gorgeous. I think on the whole looks better than this. I do think this has gorgeous moments of CG, and I would love to see some movie done on it. I just don't want to see the first movie done on it.
You want to see something original?
I would love to see something original done like this. For me, I'm so attached to that aesthetic that I don't think I could really prefer this to it.
So Toby's an anime Gen 1er?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's me going on.
You probably hated the Sun and Moon art style.
I didn't.
That took a while to grow on me.
It took a while.
I'm not loving it. I prefer how things
It's just more animated.
From a point of view of a more a little bit more grounded in the world of filmmaking, there are moments that I felt really missed the mark, and there were moments. You can't do this, Mewtwo. I won't let you. It's from the original film, and in this film is you can't do this, Mewtwo. You gotta cut it out. And it's just done in the most lame way possible. It doesn't have the same musical impact as the first one. Again, there's a lot of those moments, and it's hard to be objective because they are scorched into my brain. The moment where Ash defies Mewtwo and the music kicks up. I do think the end scene with Ash, it had some moments in it actually where I thought the animation really added, and then it had other moments where I'm like, where's the music? Or where's the this? Where's the that? No, this is not hitting the same emotional tones. For me, the moment where in the original animation where Ash gets up and says, he has this whole speech, and again, this is a dialogue change where he's like, someone's got to take a stand and say no and do what's right, just like Pikachu. It's something that pulls at my heartstrings, and in this, there isn't that build-up. It's missing it. The scene where Pikachu's slapping the other Pikachu is just kind of funny, almost. It's lacking that for me. And so, again, it's difficult. Full disclosure, I am nostalgia blind. I'm looking at that first movie through rose-tinted glasses, but I do think there's moments in this that genuinely suffer because they don't have the same incredible writing that made that movie infectious, and they don't have the same musical impact as well. In particular, not just Brother My Brother. That was a sad loss, but I wasn't expecting it. But the general score, I think, the first movie had some amazing tracks that really helped make those moments. And I think, and things like that, you know, the Meowth looking up at the sky and that speech, while maybe it's truer to the original, I like the version that we had before. Again, that's not to say that I thought this movie was bad. I will probably watch it again, but if I ever want to sit down and watch the first Pokemon movie, I'm always going to choose the Blu-ray version of the first movie, not this. This I will watch again for memory's sake, probably years down the line.
Fair, valid points, Joe.
That's where I kind of come from.
I don't know which I'd pick if I was to watch it again. Picture in picture, do both.
Yeah, of course you'd say that. That's a rough question. I mean, I think visually, this film looks great. While I am disappointed in the script, I'm not overly mad about it. I just, I'm looking at the textures and the grass and the water.
The texture of onyx.
The
was
texture
nice.
of onyx, like. It's like I just want to give them hugs. I feel like when I looked at them, I could feel their texture, if that makes sense.
Like even the texture on Ash's clothes.
Yes, when Ash got brought to life, and you're like, wow, the texture on his hat. Like you pointed out the texture on his hat. I'm like,
a lot of detail in that.
I'm loving.
At least it doesn't have a dodgy tree.
I think. It looks really good. And I really can't pick, obviously, mega nostalgia for the original. And I really didn't like the whole Jesse and James in the boat thing.
See, that was one of the moments I almost preferred in this, because I just thought it was really funny. Like, I actually laughed out loud to that.
Them just maniacally laughing at the back of the boat. It just gets me.
I know. I just want a fan of the singing, but I don't know. I love them both.
I gotta say, like that, like I said, with that moment with at the end with Ash sacrificing himself, the bit where he wakes up and Pikachu, the way Pikachu is animated, nuzzling into Ash, is like a moment where my brain very quickly went from stop laughing at this and actually that's quite touching. There were bits of it that like I said, super hit and miss. The bits that worked really worked for me, and the bits that didn't just didn't. Whereas Pokemon the first movie is just great all around.
And without nostalgia goggles, I'll be real, the story's not
the
best.
No, sure.
Story-wise, and then obviously there are a few holes in logic and things that weren't explained as well as they could have been. So as a story, it's not. As a Pokemon movie story, it's not.
Well, as a Pokemon movie, it's top tier. As a movie in general, it's like, it's okay.
Is it top tier though?
Pokemon the first movie?
Yeah.
I think you might be looking through nostalgia goggles a bit. The story's just a bit.
It feels rushed sometimes.
I mean, what are you comparing it to when you say Pokemon movie?
Not the arc we just watched.
Keldeo.
I think it's up there. I think it's in the easy in the top half, maybe in the top 10.
Oh yeah, definitely up. It's definitely one of the better ones, but it's not amazing.
And the bits that I can definitely say are nostalgia entirely is there are those mistakes like Alakazam, or the double animation where I missed that. But that's entirely something that makes a film worse. But because that's what I was brought up with, it's a charm and it's there's a.
It's so bad it was good.
Artistry to that. Yeah, kind of.
You miss it for its flaws.
Yeah,
and dodgy animation and stuff.
Watching, and that's the thing, and that's why this movie was always going to struggle for me. Is sitting down to watch Pokemon the first movie is like sitting down to have a chat with an old friend. So who's this guy?
Old friend with a haircut.
Similar. I don't know you. We haven't seen each other in 30 years, and now you're into some weird stuff that I don't care to know. So that's kind of more the view. coming into with this.
Is there an IMDb review from our
Do you know
trusted
what?
friend?
I was gonna have a look. I'll get it up.
And Mew on the Windmill.
Mew on the Windmill was...
cute.
Generally speaking, 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb.
Ooh.
Let's go to some user
It's
reviews.
the same film. What did the original get in comparison?
Nostalgia, that's
yeah,
what it got.
probably.
Was this a necessary remake? No. Was it enjoyable? Yes. Did I watch it on with a smile on my face? Absolutely.
See, Toby, you're the only one dead inside.
Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution ironically clones the original to create an inferior remake.
That's quite funny, actually. That is actually.
Original will always be the better one. Nostalgic when unnecessary. Interesting to see in 3D, but pales to the original director's cut and Japanese version. Nostalgic trip for Pokemon fans. Pointless remake, but it's beautiful. Highly ambitious film that misses the mark set by its predecessor. Great to see the classic made over. Maybe more position you guys are coming from. Not as bad as everyone says. Beautiful, but necessary?
Yeah, to be honest, it wasn't necessary, but it was nice to look at.
At least we're going...
Ooh, a Pokemon retrospective part 22.
He's back! Yay!
Okay, here we go. If only I knew what I was getting into when I conceived this retrospective last summer. Spending a month watching 24 films of questionable quality is one thing. Spending 5 months writing my reviews to the point of basic adequacy is quite another. But the thought that every remaining year of my life a new Pokemon film will come out that I'd feel obliged to watch and review is the limit. I was feeling rather distraught when along came Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution. What a better place to end a retrospective than the point when it all began. This is it. There'll be no Roku. I'm just gonna skim and go to the bottom 2 paragraphs. So let's not kid ourselves. Who still watches Kyurem the Sword of Justice or Genesect the Legend Awakened? Those later films are utterly devoid of originality and charm, and I'm sad to say Evolution falls into the same category. It has succeeded in wrenching the character out of the film that it lived by it. The Power of Us 2018 offered a brief glimpse of hope, a hint of fresh direction this franchise could have taken, but the evolution has smothered it. Pokemon is back at stage 1 and somehow even worse than before. At least I now have a functional excuse to end this retrospective. Perhaps I'll catch up with the films in another 20 years. But I sincerely hope the franchise has fainted before then. No! Retrospective guy, what are you doing?
He'll be back for Coco, guarantee it.
Oh dear.
He'll be back for Coco. You're watching this podcast. We know you are.
Wow, harsh. I think it was okay. Final thoughts?
It was
definitely worth checking out.
Worth watching. Definitely worth watching.
Yeah,
it's a treat for your eyes at the very least.
If you hadn't watched a Pokemon film in a while, I'd recommend you this before recommending you some of the other, Gen 5 and 6
What's
films.
wrong with the Keldeo movie?
You know what's wrong with the Keldeo movie. You know.
Joe?
What?
Final thoughts?
Yeah, it was good.
I think it was great. Like, it's fine. I don't hate it. I thought it was pretty. The story is not really
different.
And
I mean, in the movie, in the credits for the movie, it was just Takeshi Shudo for Variety. Yeah, and he died 10 years ago.
Yeah. So there you go. Next Pokemon Movie Club is
April 17th, 2020. At 7 PM local time, unless Toby has to go to London if lockdown's over.
No, I won't. I will be here. I'll be around. It'll be right before my birthday as well. It'll be nice.
And it is Diancie and the Cocoon of Destruction, which features a Carbink called Merrick.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one because I'm...
Wait, what time are we doing it? Are we going to stick with this time? Is this time good? Bit of on-air discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go with 7 PM.
Let's go with this
I like this time. Actually.
Okay.
I'm excited for this one because it's the one that when I started Pokemon YouTubing, I did a binge of all the movies, and that was the film that I started that kind of retrospective with. And I don't remember thinking it was wonderful, but I don't remember thinking it was terrible, so I'm looking forward to it.
I can't remember it at all.
It's got a character named Merrick in it, so it's great.
And I got to show my awesome picture. You can like catch up on Pokemon movies like Manga UK in the UK, do the Blu-rays and DVDs. There is a triple, maybe 4-pack, I can't remember, of one with
XY.
Diancie. Obviously, we spoke about Netflix, Prime Video, Google Play, iTunes. You can also read them digitally via Kindle, Comixology, stuff like that. You can get the movie manga as well if that is your preferred way to enjoy the film. That is an option for you. So there is so many places now that we're on like the more modern Pokemon films that you can enjoy it. Yeah, so that will be on April 17th live
at twitch.tv/virtuallymarty, and then it will be uploaded again on YouTube on April 19th
for your viewing convenience,
in case you want to rewatch it and do a retrospective of our reviews.
And obviously, you know, watch the film beforehand, then come and join us. Let us know in the chat what you think of it, or in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube, because I do read them and it's really interesting to see the feedback. There's a lot of love for these reviews on YouTube, which is really, really good to see. But yeah, that said, I thank Toby and Joe for once again joining me. I thank you guys for watching this, and we will see you. Stick around on Twitch for the post show, but YouTube will say goodbye to you now, and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.